Hey, everybody, this is Perch. Let's get with a simple question here. Leaving my comic shop for mail ordering. All right. Simple question. It's a long question. So it says, we'll just read it here. I'm still fairly new to comics, but I became interested in them while playing the Spider-Man PlayStation game. I wonder how many people, by the way, got excited about being able to play an interactive Spider-Man game, and that led them to comics. I don't think it's zero. I think that there has been a group of people that came to comics from that direction, and it makes some level of sense, right? If you're able to play the character, then this gives you more immersive Tales world where the character's going, and I don't know, it makes sense that you would migrate from one to the other if you get a lot of interest in the character that way. But I'm curious how many of those people there are. Anyway, back to mail. It says I realized that I've always been interested in comics, but I'd never given them a shot. I started buying them, start with Marvel, then some DC, and now reading some of the stuff for Image, Ghost Machine, and Energon and stuff like that. Far as cynical as for as cynical as comic fans are, and sometimes for very good reason, I'm still finding lots to enjoy. But also at this comic shop, I'm but also at this comic shop, I'm run into a lot of frustrations. I have to drive half an hour from my house to get to the only comic shop around, where the owner, who is a nice guy, will constantly leave things off my pull list. And when he doesn't leave stuff off, a lot of times he'll give me a variant cover, even though I've told him many times I don't want those. I've been putting up with it because he seemed like the only option. But after last week, when I was driving away with my weekly headache, I decided I'd had enough. I asked online what the best option was for getting comic books by mail. I was directed to Discount Comic Book Service, DCBS. I immediately became overjoyed because it looked like exactly what I wanted. It's a pre-order website where you look at comics coming out in 2 months. You add them to your cart, that are ship them to you. Everything on the site is discounted about 40%, including omnibuses. I just pre-ordered the new printing of the Hellblazer omnibus for $90, which is saving $60 off the list price. You do have to pay a flat rate for shipping, $10 for one big shipment at the end of the month, $20 for twice monthly, and about $30 if you want them shipped every week. But with the discounts they offer, it's extremely easy to make that money back, and then some. You can even get a bag and board to go with every floppy for 25 cents a piece. I'm wondering why more people don't know about this service. Why didn't I know about it until recently? I think this is superior to comic shops in every way. Well, the only downside is that you don't get your books on release day. If you pay for weekly shipping, it still takes a few days, but at the convenience, and the convenience is a big deal, quite bluntly. Convenience, the price, and the peace of mind that I'm actually going to get everything I asked for more than makes up for it. I'm literally so happy because I feel like the stress is gone and I can actually enjoy the comics now. Appreciate your channel. Thank you for reading. So a lot of people are using mail order services. I think that it's running into basically the tipping point for this. And you know what's really, actually, before I get there, the really painful part of that mail was that you basically had a comic shop owner that, basically sold somebody on not coming back to their store. And I don't know how many times, we've had this conversation at retailer summits and other things. The pull box has to be fairly protected. It's got to be treated like something that is not screwed around with, because otherwise, it gets such a bad reputation so fast. The pull box needs to be trusted. And already you've got a lot of comic fans who are concerned that, different shit's going to get into their box and they paid for, or if a customer comes in that's a whale or somebody that the shop really wants, that they'll go ahead and they'll pull comics out of your box and give it to that person because they value that customer better. I mean, there's so many examples of where this goes wrong, of where, rather than treat the whole thing with respect, you basically cheat the customer out of their books. And you have, as soon as you do that and the customer picks up on it and the customer really starts to realize this is going on, you lose their trust, you lose a customer, because the other part about a pull box is both sides can screw each other very easily. The comic shop can not pull the things that the customer wants and or pull it and then sell it out of, or can slip things into the box and, person doesn't realize that they're basically getting books on their list they didn't ask for. There's a lot of ways that this could go really, really wrong. And so if you're not staying on top of that, or worse, you're trying to get some easy money by slipping something in, I think you really, the trust breaks, and then you're done, and then it's over. So I think that that's a real problem, and so it's painful for me to read that, and just that experience. But regardless of all that, I think the challenge that a lot of people have is that they want those comic books on release day, and the big thing that a comic shop does offer that mail order does not is that if they're doing it right, it is community. And I know a lot of you probably listening to this right now, you just want to get in the comic shop, buy your comics, get out. But the ability to have human beings there to interact with, either other comic fans or a shop owner who's actually interested in talking with you, and you can strike up that conversation. That experience is actually what's going to sell and make comic shops dig. But that it's hard. It's hard to do that, and quite frankly, the comic shop owner's time to invest into those conversations probably isn't worth it for the product they're selling. But I mean, your margin on a comic, if somebody's buying $10 worth of comics, the comic shop's taking home, I don't know, maybe at best $2 out of that. And so if you think about spending 15 minutes chatting with somebody for $2, it just, the math doesn't work out. So that's why a lot of comic book shops become this kind of throughput business, unless they get in tabletop gaming or a bunch of other things that cause the conversation to go elsewhere. But anyway, this is a problem. And so in that world, the online sites are going to be more popular. But the other factor is also what you mentioned is people like their comic books right now. And for a long time, if I think about Mile High Comics, and they used to have the ordering, if you didn't live by a comic shop back in the 80s, that's what you did. You went to a site like that, and they mailed them in. But even back then, it was painful because these comics, were exciting, and they were ending on cliffhangers, and it was episodic entertainment. And so it was super, super annoying to know that a comic book was coming in the mail for you, but it's been out in the shops already. I mean, you knew it was there, and you're just waiting for your copy, waiting for it to come in so you could actually read it and see where the story was going. That was really, really tough, as a customer to have to put up with that and deal with that. So what happens though is that comic comic publishers are starting to move away from episodic storytelling. They're moving to more one-and-dones. They're moving to more things where it doesn't really matter if you get the comic books timely or not, because if there's no cliffhanger, who cares if it comes in a month later? And so the good news for mail order services is that more people are going to be willing to go for that because you don't need your comics right away. The bad news for that is to me, it's a step 2 of the 3-step process. Step 1 is, I love my comics to come in. I want to read them every week. On Wednesday, I'm out there and I'm anxious to see what's there. And step 2 is, hey, the comic books don't have that same kind of grip and appeal like they used to. So I'm okay if I have to wait, a couple weeks for the comic to come in. I'll just read it then. And step 3 is, you know what? Don't care at all. I don't need to. Why am I even paying money for this? And I think that's the danger to all of it. What gets me is that I think there are ways that you can have a comic shop, and you can have a pretty basic. And with this website, you could actually have ordering in a pretty easy way, and people could come in and could get their comics. They could reserve it, and then I think you could do a lot of this online, even as your own shop, and then you basically give people the option of, pay for it to be mailed out to you once a month, or come on in and grab it, from the comic shop, and you basically take a lot of the ordering, unpredictability, and it becomes very precise. And once you've done that, where the orders are more precise, and then you have more headroom to then do some of the experiential stuff in your shop. So I think you can kind of build your way up there, But anyway, I'm curious, for those of you out there, are any of you using an online service, and would you, or would you not? Do you still care about are you the Wednesday warrior who's getting your comic books every week? Is that you? And why? Like, is that, if that's a drawn appeal, how much longer do you think that lasts? Or if you were able to get 40% discount, are you just, are you like, hey, screw it, I'm out? And for those of you who are ordering your comic books online, do you find that you're ordering less? Because if I look at customer trends and customer behavior, a lot of people order more at the beginning and then a year later ordering less than what they did when they walked into the store. Just human behavior. You suddenly have lots of options on a website. You naturally pick things from the convenience of your home you didn't necessarily want at the beginning, but fairly soon you're easing back because those bills are now a little bit more clear when you're putting your credit card number online. But I don't know. Are you finding any of this to be true? Let me know your thoughts and your experiences in the comments below. Thank you very much for the mail. Like and subscribe, of course, and thanks for listening.